Hey everybody, we're going to be doing a little test here. I've been curious about the results of which one I would like more between certain vocoder type scenarios. And so I thought I would show you the three that I am landing on. The first one, of course, is the default in Logic, which is the Evoc 20 polysynth, or just the vocoder without the synth part of it. And I got to tell you, this was, for a while, one of the only ways to kind of get this sound, although I've never really liked it. I mean, it has some, significant shortcomings. Let me play this for you. And so I'm going to play some keys. Okay, so it has that vocoder type sound. I've always loved the pitcher plugin inside of FL Studio, which is really an interesting sound. I just absolutely love it. And I love that I can use FL Studio inside of Logic now. So let me pull this over from my other screen here. So this, we can just load up the whole thing of Reason inside. The biggest downside to this is that if I want to use that same sample, I have to actually load it into FL Studio. I can't just send it there. And so let me mute this and this. And I think we're good now. Let me just play this. Oh! And that's the original sample sound that you were hearing through the vocoder a second ago. Let's turn off the metronome in here. And let's see if I've got all of my sound happening. Oh! Doom, 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 doom. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Doom, doom. Oh. Doom, 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 doom. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Doom, doom. Oh. Doom, 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 doom. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Doom, doom. Oh. I've always liked that sound. It's a little rough around the edges, but I mean, it's very few ways to get this. So this is the pitcher plugin set with MIDI as an input. And then I have the octaves and harmonize, and I have them panned out a little bit. And then I have to set up in my rack one of the MIDI outputs going to this. And then, of course, Logic sends it to the rack itself. And so I've got on my channel over here, let's stop this. I have to send MIDI out on channel 8, which is going to the 8th, the input over there. It's a little fuzzy because every once in a while I change how this is set up, and I think this is probably the most confusing thing. Let's set this to 11 and 11 here, and I think that I'd have to change it on the other side. Let's just try this real quick. Oh! Yeah, yeah. Nope, so it's going into that one channel, and then it's routing through to the pitcher. So you have to do the routing in FL Studio. But, that sound is, I like the sound, but more than anything, I like being able to play my MIDI keyboard and have the pitcher track to those notes. And so when Reason Rack came out with its new vocoder, that was for me kind of the best of all worlds, because it has just a really amazing sound. Let's get this loaded. There we go, Reason Rack. So I've got Reason loaded, FL Studio loaded, and the vocoder loaded all in one project, which is something that should give anybody nightmares. But this is the BVX, and I don't have it set to autoplay. I just have it set to scale, and I'm side chaining from that the loop that's over here on this channel, the Byron Improv Apple loop, and it's loaded as an instrument, the audio unit MIDI controlled effects Reason Studio rack. So I can play MIDI on this. The side chain is coming through. And then I push play and... Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, And that sounds freaking incredible for that sound. I mean, it's just like so tight. And this is a sound that there's very few ways of getting this inside Logic itself natively. So that's one of the reasons why I'm using Reason Rack right now, is because there are a few things that you just can't get any other way inside Logic with the default set. So you have to find it through a third-party solution. And this is just one of those. So it's not like there's not other solutions, but as far as I'm concerned, for this one particular sound where you're holding down chords and you want an Apple loop or anything else to shift into the notes you're playing, this is by far the best way to do it. I have other tools. For instance, I've got all of the Eventide stuff. The harmonizer, the H910 and the H949, both of those are built off of or emulating retro gear, which is really cool. But you have to actually change the pitch before sending it through the harmonizer, because those are based off of the original sound. Even the Octavox is going to track the original pitch and then just transpose it based on the keys you're playing. And they get really close to something really amazing, but they don't change the original, and so you'd have to actually do that part of it separately and then build the harmonies on top. All of these things I think are super useful. Right now, I think it's as good as it's ever been in terms of FL Studio running, but it's certainly not perfect at this point. So when this is all loaded up, I mean, it's nice to have all of the features and the instruments and all of that going on. However, I can't get audio into FL Studio directly from a track in Logic as far as I can tell. And I mean, there may be something I'm missing here. So if any of you are like super ninjas with that, let me know. Because I don't know. I'm trying to think of, any of the other choices we have here. Because you can't load it up as like an audio effect like you can with Reason Studios. So that's not an option there. I don't think there's anything here in terms of the MIDI effect either, but let me check real quick. Yeah, it's just Reason Studios that does the MIDI effect. So Reason is flying by FL Studio in terms of incorporating with other workstations. And it's pretty amazing what they're doing. But the Reason Plus is not what I would call cheap. If you're doing this, it's $20 a month every month, and FL Studio, if you've bought, it's good for life. And so I think that there's always going to be these ups and downs. But if you want that sound, if you want the sound of being able to play, whatever keys you want, then this is the thing you're looking for sure. And so I think that all by itself makes a huge difference. And then, of course, you can take any MIDI effect or MIDI loop or whatever pattern. Let's just do the instrument MIDI. So say I just, this cheesy 12-string dream. Let's pull it out, but then I'm just going to drag that loop up onto this one with the vocoder. So you can take any MIDI file and put any other file on top of it. Now, the limitations are, you can't necessarily do that with something that has polyphony. So if you have a choir, it would kind of work, but it's not going to be as clean as if it's just like a solo line of something. So, pretty much anything's going to work here for that. So then I can come through and say, let's pull out a vocal, and let's find another one of these. Let's just close that. Let's see. Let's do. Wants to do all of them. Oh, that's because I'm in that right there. That's what I wanted to switch. I had too many things filtered out. There we go. So now.
Ooh, hey yeah, hey yeah, hey yeah, hey yeah.
So let's move that out of here and move this one in and loop it out.
Hey yeah, hey yeah, hey yeah, hey yeah.
And now we have a whole different thing. It doesn't sound anything like the original. It's in a new harmonic structure. It's a whole different style. You can do that with any of these things. So you're going to get a lot more mileage out of some of these Apple loops, which may not actually be very usable. Let's just try one more. Cool. I mean, it's just the possibilities are endless. Plus, you can trigger it in real time too. Awesome. So, of all of the options that we have, the Logic one is the furthest behind and needs an update. FL Studio perhaps is the most affordable in the long run, and the Reason Rack by far sounds the best. Do with this information what you want.